Today's sermon is called Keeping Your Distance and Knowing Your Advantages. And we're going to be talking about David and Goliath. I've grown so fond of this story, and everybody knows the story of David and Goliath. But I've been listening to sermons, and I love gaining their perspective off of things, and so that's what I was doing. So we're going to read off, Sammy, we're going to read off of Fresse Samuel 17:25. And I'm going to tell you 3 things that the enemy likes to use against you, and we're going to get to them. Now, this is the story of David. You guys know the story of David and Goliath, right? Well, this was a little before when David was just finding out about Goliath. And you know how David has older brothers, and they're like warriors. And he's a shepherd. He tends the sheep and all that, and he goes out and he brings his brother's food because his dad tells him to. So we're going to start from there in 1 Samuel 17:25. It says, "Now the Israelites had been saying, 'Do you see how this man keeps coming out?'" And they're talking about Goliath. "He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his father's family from tax in Israel." So the king is saying, whoever kills Goliath, I will give them great wealth. I'll give them my daughter's hand in marriage. And we know she had to be gorgeous. And get those guys encouraged to go out there, and you pay no taxes. Now that's a pretty sweet deal. Continuing in 26, David asked the men standing near him, "What will be done for the man who kills the Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" They repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, "This is what will be done for the man who kills him." So they're just basically repeating everything. You get wealth, marriage, free tax. When Eliab, David's oldest brother, heard him speaking with the men, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the desert? I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." Now here, Eliab's getting mad at David, his youngest brother. He said, "Well, what is he doing asking about the reward? I'm going to kill him." So already that's the first thing that the enemy likes to do is accuse. He's saying, "I know how wicked your heart is." I'm going to give you an example, modern time here. When you're in church and you're lifting your hands, and you're singing praises to God, and then all of a sudden the enemy likes to accuse you of things, and he's like, "Why are you lifting your hands? Why are you singing? You know how you were living last week." And then little by little your hand starts coming down because you start doubting yourself. And you're like, "Oh man, yeah, I was living that way. Why am I?" Yeah. So that's what the enemy likes to do. The constant companion of destiny is doubt. The constant companion of destiny is doubt, and the enemy will always attack what God anoints.
Amen.
And the enemy loves to plant doubts in our heads by accusing us. But see, the enemy will always try to show us our sin to shame us. And he'll try to rub it in your face, but God will show you your sin to change you. And that's how we know what is and what isn't of God, because when God speaks to you, and when he tells you something that he doesn't like in your life, he will speak to you in a way that will lift you up into a higher way of living. God will never drag you down. God will never shame you. That's why you doesn't matter what people say. Okay, because I don't give a crap, honestly, what people say. I don't, because they don't know the real dirt. What matters is what you know about you and what the enemy likes to use. But guess what? Jesus already nailed whatever it is that the enemy is trying to throw in your face. Amen? He literally nailed it to the cross, so you don't have to feel that shame. So that's what Eliab is doing here. He's accusing David. He's like, "Why have you come here? I know how wicked your heart is." Continuing. "Now what have I done?" said David. "Can't I even speak?" And you can hear like the brotherly argument going in there. You know when you fight with a sibling or your mom, and then you're like, "Now what did I do?" Yeah, why are you smirking? Now what have I done? See, we got to get better in ignoring than they are in arguing with us. See, I remember when we were little, and we'd always go to the store, and the first aisle we go to was the toy section. And Cassie would always get like the princess tiara and the plastic heels that would come along with it. And she'd be home and all you hear is like, and then it'd say, she's like, I'm a princess, and yada, yada, yada. And then me and David, we always loved bothering her. And I'm like, you're not a real princess. I'm like, just because you're named after one doesn't mean you are one. And she's like, Victoria! Yes, I am! Stomp, stomp, slam. Mommy! That was Cassie. See, she was little, so she didn't know that she could ignore me. She didn't know. So that's what's happening here in this story. David's like, Elohim, what have I done now? Can't I even speak? And I love what David does here. It says, continue in verse 30, he then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter. So sometimes that's what you got to do. You just got to cross your arms. You just got to turn away. Hey man, I know how you live in that, but you got to turn away. Turn away. You just got to turn. And I love how he turned away and he turned to someone else and brought up the same matter. Like, bro, I'm not going to talk to you, bro. You're trying to bring me down. I'm going to turn away from you. You're not running this show. Let me speak to your supervisor. That's what's going on here. I love that David turned away. And that's what we got to continue learning to do, is to turn away. And he continues and said, and the men answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul. And Saul sent for him. Now, Saul knows a little bit about David. Saul is the king. You guys know. David said to Saul, let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant will go and fight for him. So David wants to go and fight Goliath. Saul replied, you are not able. It's the first thing he says. You are not able to go out against this Philistine and fight him. You are only